this is often my favourite part of our coaching session experience, where I can just answer your questions as they are arising. So if you haven't already, you can still use the chat box on the Match Live coaching platform and ask me your questions. It could be about recent dating experience you've had. It could be about something that I've spoken about tonight. It could be asking what message to send someone. You know, I am here for you, so let me hear your questions. So this is a good one, and it's from Dan, who asks, is confidence something you can teach just to act out? Does that not risk changing someone to how they would naturally act? Could lose authenticity? I think this is a really good question. So I always say, when dating, it shouldn't be about changing who you are. It should be about becoming more who you are than ever before. So let me explain this. It could be that to behave confidently, you feel more comfortable expressing your true opinion about something. It could be that you're more in tune with stating what your intentions are if you're attracted to someone. It could be that you initiate and suggest dates more. It could be that you take a more proactive role in planning those dates and choose things that you will really enjoy. So it's not about creating this fake persona that you think everyone will like. It's actually about getting really in tune with what you want and expressing that. So confidence is often really about self-expression. It's not about losing your authenticity. It's in fact about creating more authenticity than ever before. The next question comes from Laverda. I really hope I pronounced your name right. Who asks, at what point in texting should a man pull the trigger and ask the woman out, or do a sales test, close and see if she's up for a video call? I see you're thinking about this in a somewhat tactical way. I think the best test of whether you've built enough connection in a conversation for it to be legitimate for you to ask someone out is you should be able to have a good reason why you're asking them out, and that should be based on a personal quality that they've been able to demonstrate to you. So to give an example of this, of course, if you send a person a first message on Match and you say, oh, how about we go for a coffee sometime? Generally that gets met with a no response, because the person will feel like, oh, they haven't even got to know me. They don't know who I am, and they're already asking me out. So that will make the other person feel like they've just been chosen based on their profile or what they look like. So instead, you should really, also for your own self-esteem, because your time is precious, you should be choosing to ask someone out based on a quality that they've demonstrated to you. So in your interaction, think, could I say something like, I really like how funny you are, or banter like this warrants meeting in person, or now you've got me curious, how about we go for drinks this Saturday? If it would feel strange to say that, often that's a signal that you actually need to have more purposeful conversations where you really focus on getting to know a person, because suggesting the date, it should be a springboard from you establishing that connection and acknowledging something you like about a person. And if you haven't been able to figure out something you like yet, it just shows that you haven't built enough connection yet in the conversation. Your other point about a video call can be really smart. As I said earlier on, sometimes it can be hard to tell on message who we click with most. On a video call, we get much better intel about what our connection is like. It's also much easier for someone to commit to than going on a date. So video calls, I know we're no longer in the COVID era of Zoom-mancing where we're having to conduct our dates on Zoom, but if you can call someone through the Match platform and set up a time to have a quick chat, that's often a really good precursor for the date that allows you both to make a more informed decision about whether the date is going to be a good shout. The next question comes from Tony. Any tips on how I can improve my profile? I'm sending nice messages when I like someone, but hardly anything back. So, okay, Tony, what I like about your question is I like that you're focusing on practical action steps that you can take here. So you're taking a lot of that feedback there and channeling it into how can you improve. So just like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to your profile, first of all, let's look at your photos. Do you have a good selection of photos right now? If you do, are you clearly visible in those photos? Generally, photos taken during the daytime or when you're by yourself as opposed to in a group setting will work better. Likewise, are you clearly visible? If you're just kind of going down a ski slope and you're really super tiny, you need to have at least some photos where the person's able to see who you are. Also think a little bit about your, dare I say it, your styling in photos. Think about what your fashion is communicating, and also think about your background. If there's a lot of clutter in your background or it's very disorganized, sometimes that can actually distract from the quality of the photo. When it comes to your written profile, just make sure you've got enough personality in there. I think pretty much all of us could write something like, I don't know, I like going out and I like staying in, or I like travel, but you've got to be more specific than that, because otherwise the other person's going to have a hard job telling what's special and unique about you. So remember, going back to what I was saying earlier, it's actually about dialing up your personality. It's about being more you. So how can you get more of your personality into your profile? And finally, when it comes to those first messages, it seems like you feel confident in your messaging style, but maybe consider trying out some different messages. So perhaps your messages right now are being very complimentary, but perhaps the other person would find it more authentic, as instead of telling them, you know, they've got a great smile and they seem amazing, could you instead pick up on something in their profile and create kind of a playful challenging around that? So you could say something like, see, it sounds like you've got a great sense of humour, great smile. The only thing I'm slightly worried about is your love of bouldering. Could I convince you to do a nice walk instead, or to do a yoga class instead, or to or go out for wine instead? So try to make the tone of your messages somewhat, it should be complimentary, but it has to have a bit of challenge in there as well, because it has to come from that place of you approaching dating like, I am figuring out how good you are for me, as well as trying to impress you. Now, next question is from Louise, who says, my confidence is always up and down. How can I build long-lasting confidence? You know, Louise, first of all, everyone's confidence is always up and down. So take heart in literally, you know, I don't think there's anybody out there, or there's very few people out there who feel confident all day, every day. Just like I said before, I think probably the most valuable thing you can think about with confidence is it's almost like you need to build links in a chain. So every time you make a decision that really looks out for yourself, that really supports your self-esteem, that is like the Beyonce power decision to make, every time you do that, gradually you feel more and more and more confident. Other confidence boosters, like I said earlier, are all about taking that practical action. So do something that's just on the edge of scary, whether it's checking out a different fitness class, putting across a presentation at work and making a different counter suggestion, being the one who organises where you go for drinks with your friends, being a bit more flirtatious on your dates, trying out a different personal style. Like, start to slowly expand your comfort zones, because in doing that, you're going to build up your confidence. And remember, confidence is about consistently taking actions that build your confidence and those that are in line with supporting your self-esteem. I've got another question here from Adam, who asks, how do I improve my chances of ladies matching, responding to my messages when we do match? So when it comes to messaging, as I said before, it's really about creating messages that are specific and detailed, and also phrasing your messages in a fun and playful way. So if I was you, if you matched with a lady, the first thing I'd do is I'd look at her profile and I'd read it carefully. If there wasn't much written on her profile, look at her photos and see, is there something that's interesting to you about those photos or intriguing? So we want to really find a specific detail for you to anchor your message to. When we've got that detail, you then want to put it across and make the phrasing playful and conversational. So say you see on their profile that they've got a dog. You could say, what breed is your dog? But that's not really playful. Instead, if you said, do you think your dog would go on a date? Do you think your dog would get on with my cat? It's a little bit more silly, but again, it strikes that playful and light-hearted tone. You could also, just like I said to Tony earlier, create a bit of a challenge in your messages. So that could be, you could say something like, oh no, I've just seen that you're a dog person. Any chance I could get you to defect and decide that cats are better? So creating that playful challenge is another really solid way to create a message that strikes the right tone of being personal, but also showing that you're not a sycophant, you're not just there to try and please somebody else, that you're again bringing that lightness and fun to dating, which comes from being really confident, and that also you're engaging with someone in a way that's genuine and specific to them. So I can see a question's also just come in from Bev, who asks, oh God, this is such a modern dating question, isn't it? If we are messaging and then he goes quiet, what do I do? And I am a confident person. So Bev, there's two ways you can play this. First of all, you can just wait and you can just not interpret someone's lack of a message as meaning anything. You can just be like, you know what? It's important for me that I meet someone who's communicative. So I'm going to see how they show up for me. And I'm just going to trust that if they're in the right space and wanting the same things as me, that he'll get back in touch. And if you do want to be more communicative with him, I would just say to do that from a non-blaming place. So rather than saying, what's with this radio silence or have you got off me? It's to contact someone in a way that demonstrates that you haven't taken their lack of a message back as they just don't like you. Instead, you're coming from a more positive assumption that, hey, perhaps they've been busy with work or something and you're just checking in. So you could simply say something like, it's been a minute, so just want to say hi again. And again, do that light and gentle check-in and stay focused, remembering on how consistent and how communicative someone is are two really good indicators for you in terms of how compatible you are. So Snowdrops asks, should you go on many dates or focus on one date at a time? So just like I said at the start, how you choose to date really comes down to your personal preferences. I know it can be confusing with modern dating. We can think, is there like a way that we should all date? And actually, I don't think there is. I think it's about identifying how you feel comfortable with dating. Some people will prefer to go on a bunch of dates with different people and will enjoy the process of getting to know multiple different people before they make a commitment. For other people out there, it will feel more natural just to focus on one person at a time. So what you want to do, Snowdrop, is you want to identify where are you on that spectrum. Are you someone who likes to focus on one person at a time? Or are you someone who likes to get to know a bunch of different people and then just see how things develop? Neither is right or wrong, but it is about identifying how you feel about it. Then the next thing you have to do, remember, is whatever you've identified as your preference, you have to then go out onto your dates and communicate that. So whether that's saying, I'm just enjoying getting to know people at the moment, or I really like to focus on one person at a time, you're not making a statement about what level of commitment you are. You're not saying, are we in a relationship? You're just letting the other person know what your views and opinions are, and you're also getting feedback from them as to what their approach to dating is, which will help you to find people that are compatible with you in terms of they like to approach dating in a similar way. I've got another question here from Mia, who asks, how to increase self-love in order to find a loving partner? Again, it all goes back to those links in the chain, Mia, of building your self-esteem. You can also think outside of dating about how you can develop your self-esteem, because it's not just our dating that helps to develop our self-worth. Is there a side hustle or project that you've always wanted to start? Could you go traveling somewhere to a destination by yourself? Could you pitch that amazing piece of art or book you've written? Could you be more of a centre stage player in other areas of your life? Could you even turn up to a Zumba class that you're sort of slightly intimidated to go to? Think about wins that you can make for confidence in all areas of your life. And remember, as long as you consistently make decisions that support your self-esteem, that give you like a major thumbs up to what you can achieve, over time, your confidence will build. And also, Mia, I have to say, that also means being aware of what your boundaries are and not being afraid to walk away if a relationship isn't meeting your expectations. So it looks like we've got time for just about one more question tonight, and that one is from Michael, who asks, how do you build up the courage to ask someone out? It seems to crumble away when it comes down to it. Michael, I bet you're not the only person who feels that way. It is hard. You know, asking someone out means that you have to make yourself vulnerable, right? And dating makes us all feel very vulnerable, and that can feel quite scary. To work around that feeling of about doing something, I want you to remember a couple of things. First of all, you have to take a leap of faith, and by taking that leap of faith and by being vulnerable, yes, you open yourself up to the possibility that that person might not want the same things as you, but you also open yourself up to the possibility of them saying yes and amazing things happening. So really, again, as I've said so many times throughout this coaching session tonight, it isn't about this one person saying yes. It's about what's your big dating goal. And if your big dating goal is to go out there and meet someone, then whether this person is a yes or a no, it just kind of moves you along your journey towards the person that you want to meet. You also want to remember, Michael, that this person isn't there to accept or reject you. This is actually your intention here is to create an opportunity for yourself. And in asking someone out and seeing if they're open to it, you're really creating an amazing test of compatibility there. And if they're not, that's fine. You can let it go and take and redirect your energy elsewhere. So don't wait on the sidelines too much. Be that central player in your dating life. Be confident to make those moves and create those opportunities for yourself. Be open about what you want and what you like. Be sure in your boundaries, and remember to always make decisions that support your self-esteem. So that is the end of our Q&A and our live coaching session this time. Apologies again for the technical hitch, but thank you for everyone who's joined and has watched the whole coaching session with me. It's been amazing to have you here this evening. As ever, if you did send a question in and we didn't get around, or I didn't get around, I didn't get around to answering it, remember, me and the rest of the team here at Match, we do read all of your questions. So don't be surprised if your question forms the basis for a live coaching session in the future. And as ever, if you missed part of this session or you just want to recap it again and go over some of the techniques that I taught during the session, remember a replay is going to be live on the Match website really, really soon. So anyway, remember to keep making those decisions that support your self-esteem. Have an amazing rest of your week over there, and I look forward to seeing you again on another Match Live coaching session.